So let's get Sean Ross Sapp on here. You want to call him?
I added him to the group.
Sweet.
What's up?
What's up?
You guys?
Shan Rass Sape.
Future NWA North American champion.
I don't know what
This
kind
again.
of drugs you have over in Kentucky, but apparently they're fucking terrible.
good weed.
I live in California. I'm pretty sure it's better out here, homie.
I don't know about that.
But this lovely chat, 69 people in chat. Everyone give me a nice 69. So why don't we talk a little bit about CM Punk? Because over at Fightful, you guys cover a ton of MMA news.
Yes, we do. I just ran a story about his interview with Ariel Helwani, and we had an interview with CM Punk right outside the courtroom after the ruling. There's a lot going on in the world of CM Punk right
there
now.
is.
I'd imagine. Didn't he after that press conference immediately? Not press conference. Excuse me. The what are those things called? Court meetings. God.
Yeah.
Didn't he immediately go to a Cubs game?
Well, he immediately spoke to us and I think another outlet, and then he hit the Cubs game, which he was supposed to throw out the first pitch at. They switched it to Clay Guida, but then he went and sang the seventh inning stretch, the Take Me Out to the Ball Game song. He had a lot of obligations this week. I don't think it's any coincidence that WWE – I mean, let's be honest. It's pretty suspicious that this got pushed to the week that his fight was happening.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense.
I wanted to ask you about, did you see the picture that Rufus Sport posted where everyone's talking about how Punk's looking really, like, unhealthy?
Really?
Have you seen the photo?
Like, who's saying that he looks unhealthy?
I mean, everybody on Twitter was saying it, that he just looks
extra
skinny and stuff.
Well, yeah, he's 35 to 40 pounds lighter than he was when he competed in pro wrestling. I mean,
Right.
if you even watch his DVD, Cole Cabana talks about how he became this balloon of a wrestler, and now he's at 170. I can tell you, I am a 190-pound human. When I wrestled competitively, I was 149.9 pounds, and I didn't look too healthy then. But by the time he gets in the cage on Saturday night, I think he'll look fine.
Right. 'Cause I just wanted
I'm excited for that fight. Are you looking forward to that fight at all, Sean? Not only from like I guess a media perspective, but just from a fan perspective.
Yeah, I am. Because there's a lot of question marks. This show, honestly, this UFC 225 show is one of the more loaded shows they flat out ever put on. You've got former champions and former title challengers on the Fight Pass prelims. Rashad Evans, for all the criticism I give him about how boring he can be, he is responsible for one of the most famous knockouts ever, and he's on the Fight Pass prelims. And CM Punk is on the pay-per-view because they know that he will sell pay-per-views, and there's a lot of question marks around his fight because there's not a lot of footage of him out there. And one of the things that stuck with me about what Mike Jackson would always say in building this fight was, I've been training for 10 years and CM Punk can't catch up to that. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he didn't, but yes, he absolutely can, considering that he trained at Rufus Sport with Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren and Showtime Pettis and Sergio Pettis. And I could go on and on about the great fighters out of Rufus Sport. So, yeah, there's a lot of question marks around it. And I've had people say, well, Mike Jackson is a boxer. Well, yeah, Mike Jackson is a 4-0 boxer, and all 4 people that he beat had 0 wins. So what does that really say? I don't know. But, yeah, I'm very excited about it, and it's honestly just a really awesome card Saturday night.
So, talking about, the Punk fight a little bit more here. Do you got him winning? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he wins. And the thing is, he said he doesn't know if he's going to fight, win or lose, and I think the reality of the situation is really setting in because he does train with some of the most violent, badass people in the world, and he does it on a daily basis, and he's 40 years old. And he's honestly in the best shape he's ever been in his entire life, but that's starting to rack up, and those pro wrestling injuries it's not like they didn't exist. We often talk about Cage Miles on the Holy Smokes MMA podcast on Fightful. He has Cage Miles, but he doesn't have the MMA record to go along with it. I mean, he cracked his skull before he ever got to WWE.
He's got Cage Miles from them Raven cage matches.
Yeah, exactly. Like way back. He sure does. And yeah, I think he wins, but it's really hard to say. There's so many question marks surrounding that, but I think that he wants to win for his own legacy, to show that he could beat just somebody. And if he goes back to wrestling, there are going to be those people that are like, "Well, he was a loser in MMA. He lost 2 fights in a row." There was a guy named Brock Lesnar who lost 2 fights in a row once. Now, I'm not comparing their skill sets.
So that's one of my favorite arguments, and especially, and this is an argument that my older brother and I have constantly. My older brother watched pro wrestling for a little bit, and he's been watching MMA his whole life, and he said, I cannot take any Brock Lesnar match seriously because I've seen his ass get knocked out multiple times by guys that are, not as good as the guys in WWE. God damn, even if Punk wins or loses, I don't think anyone's going to have anything to say if he ever comes back to the WWE. Because I think it's just something that has to happen. I think he has to come back.
Well, I don't know if he will because of this trial. That's hard to say. However, he is on very good terms with the likes of Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson. We just ran a story from that Helwani interview where he says that he's never, ever had a formal offer to wrestle since WWE. People have said, if you're interested, but he said nobody has ever given me a dollar amount and this. That leads me to believe that he will do it eventually because he wouldn't rule it out. And when he talks to Chris, he joked to Chris Van Vliet, I think earlier this year, that he would never, ever come back. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, I think that deep in his heart, creatively, he's into that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But I mean, some fans are so weird about that. It's like if somebody goes to pro wrestling or goes to MMA and they lose 2 fights, for some reason, the absence of experience is better than a negative MMA experience, because I had people saying that about Shayna Baszler too. They were like, "Oh, she washed out of the UFC," and I was like, "So what? Like, does that mean that she is less badass than Lacey Evans or something?"
Right. Exactly.
Like, I don't get it.
If anything, the badassery comes from this dude. Is CM Punk comes back to any form of wrestling. Oh, he lost 2 fights in the UFC. Yeah, the mother fought in the UFC. Where did any of these other guys fight at? Where have they ever faced legitimate punches before? That is a built-in story.
I'd be really excited to see how CM Punk's style would change in pro wrestling, because I think there's no way he wouldn't bring some of the stuff that he's picked up over here, especially considering that the last 4 years, when you have like a Matt Riddle and a Shayna Baszler and even a Ronda Rousey now, how much that style has really emerged in American wrestling. I think I think that would be a great way that he could reinvent himself. Also, in the event that he came back to WWE, the irony of this entire situation is one of the reasons that he was disgusted and left was because he didn't get his WrestleMania main event. No matter who he faces, that's an immediate WrestleMania main event.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Just the idea of the return.
And the thing is, he would become what he rallied against for so long. But, there's a good market in pro wrestling to be a hypocrite character like that and say that I gamed the system and I became the part-time guy because I knew that's how I could get what I wanted. Because there are going to be a lot of fans that love him, and there's going to be a lot of fans that still don't like him. He's a very polarizing figure. So, man, I would be really, really interested to see how that works out. But I think he's just so disgusted by WWE and the games they played with him over the last 4 years now. They've been f***ing with him, pardon my language, but they have been.
Have you ever listened to this show before?
I
had an entire segment dedicated to me just cussing.
Wow.
Gee golly.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they've been with him for 4 years.
Oh yeah, they've been really giving him the way around.
Say what you want about his exit, if he left or whatever. They fired him on his wedding day.
That's what I was gonna get at. You think there's a built-in storyline right there? WrestleMania, him and Triple H. You fired me, sent me my FedEx on my wedding day.
And that's the funny thing. That wouldn't have headlined WrestleMania 4 years ago, and it shouldn't have, because it was Daniel Bryan's year, and he was quick to admit that. However, Triple H versus CM Punk is definitely a show closer now. It's just you wonder how CM Punk would feel about taking that type of spot, considering the way that he saw everything unfold. Man, I don't know. They have a few WrestleMania main events in their back pocket if they could get a CM Punk too, because
So Sean, what is your ideal? I really want to see the CM Punk WrestleMania main event go down. Who is he facing? And is his name Mojo Rawley?
I would love to see Mojo Rawley cut a promo on CM Punk legitimately because he can cut a hell of a promo. But other than that, CM Punk hitting him with his finish. Honestly, I think that Roman Reigns would make a pretty good one from a promo perspective. Because
from a money perspective as well, that would bring in tons of fans.
There is a lot of the disdain for Roman Reigns, I think, is rooted in those podcasts where CM Punk kind of revealed that how badly WWE wanted Roman to look strong. I mean, it became essentially a meme online.
So how much, Roman look strong. Man, how much of Roman's hatred today comes from that podcast?
I don't know if so much of it does, but I think some of it started there, and I don't think the WWE necessarily did him many favors. I thought he had a really good 2017. The way that they built him from The Undertaker throughout the Braun Strowman stuff, I thought was really, really good. And if you've noticed, since the Undertaker feud last year, Roman Reigns hasn't cut long promos. He talks for a minute and a half, and that's what really works,
man.
Yeah, it works.
It works for him.
So I think that if CM Punk carried those promos, Roman Reigns still did the thing that he did, you would get a couple of probably polarizing reactions, but I think that people would care about it if they thought that CM Punk would be around a little bit after that, because we know that a lot of times when you have a wrestler that might not be there the next day or the next month, fans check out because there's nothing to really... Sometimes we like to look past things and see what's next, even though we're looking forward to something coming up. But yeah, I think Punk and Reigns, and I think Punk and Triple H are the two ideal matches.
Yeah, Punk and Triple H has just a whole story built around it already. You can just immediately, as soon as he comes back, he can immediately say, hey, you know who I want, Triple H, get out here.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I was thinking were like the parallels of Roman Reigns and CM Punk. CM Punk's last full year, he was facing all those part-time guys, Undertaker, Triple H. Did he have a match with Kevin Nash? And then you look at Roman Reigns last year, and who was he facing in the last year? Undertaker, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, all the part-time guys again.
Yeah, but Roman Reigns is beating most of them.
True, that's very true.
that's
He's also the big dog.
CM Punk legitimately became the hottest thing in wrestling, got it mainstream coverage that WWE begged for. I mean, it got a little pathetic the way that they wanted mainstream attention for a while. And now they have it all the time. It's not that big of a deal. But CM Punk became a really hot thing. There is no reason that really long reign of CM Punk should not have started at Money in the Bank and continued all throughout really essentially the next 2 years. He should have had pretty much a 2-year reign until he lost it to The Rock. And that would have been acceptable because The Rock is one of the biggest stars in the history of the world, not just wrestling. So, yeah, that was the one that I saw, and I was like, okay, maybe. And they wanted to build Brock, but, I mean, there was a way you could have got around that. But Triple H beating CM Punk is inexcusable.
Oh absolutely. Yeah. It's absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Sean Ross Sapp, the man that's going to tap out to me for that title. I want to say thank you, Sean.
Do you know how to apply an arm triangle choke?
I believe it or not, my older brother taught me how.
Cool. Do you know how to get out of one?
We're gonna
the answer
find
to
out,
that
aren't we?
Is no.
I'll always find a way out.
I'll always find a way out. YouTube videos.
Hey man, I'm legitimately down to do this.
It's gonna happen.
I'm legitimately down.
Do I get the championship if I beat you?
Fuck it, why not? Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be a gentleman. I'll drop it. Fuck it.
Okay.
This thing.
Remember. It'll sit in the background with my IFG championship and I think it was the FVWA Tag Team Championship. It can sit right there on my mantle behind me and during my podcasts, in which everybody can check out at Fightful.com.
Go ahead and bleep that out and post him. Thanks. We want to say thanks to Sean. Thanks for hopping on here, brother.
Thank you, guys.